Welcome to the Amazon Legends podcast, where we have real stories about making it big on Amazon. Our guests are CEOs of large companies and entrepreneurs who became powerful sellers, also experts specializing in helping sellers, and both former and current Amazon employees who will give us an insight from behind the scenes. Here's your host, Nick Urison.
Welcome to another episode of Amazon Legends. My guest today is a proud visionary immigrant. He's a startup addict, a true entrepreneur, a founder of National Adhesive, and also he's a passionate coffee drinker. I guess that explains the late nights and how he's able to keep up and do what he does, to the extent that he roasts his own beans. So everybody meet my guest, Dean Fonsale. So welcome to the show, Dean.
Thank you. I appreciate being here. I'm looking forward to
it. Great. So you are at the genesis of a major initiative that you're planning. So tell us all about what that is. Give us some of the secrets. You can keep some, but tell us what that's about. So we're not going to tell anybody. So tell us what that is.
Well, I mean, as we discussed before, this is giving birth. So at the moment, we've built an incredible business, and we're about to take it online onto the e-commerce platform. And Amazon is obviously one of those places we're going to. We've got a number of brands in the adhesive and the sealant business. We are selling into some of the major retailers already, in the US. And selling on their e-commerce platforms as well. So now it's our turn to take it directly to consumer with B2C, and that's where we're going. So it's a variety of brands that we either own, or we've got some licensing agreements with DuPont as well for the Great Stuff brand, which has been around for about 40 years, and we're expanding on that and introducing new products. So that's in a very high level.
Yeah. So okay, you said so many things that is extremely valuable for a lot of people, because they are, no problem is unique to anybody, or no challenge or no initiative is unique. So somebody else is also doing and working on something. So I want to unpack all this. So first of all, you have multiple brands of your own, and you produce National Adhesive. National Adhesive produces adhesive products, right? So you've got your secret sauce, and you built multiple brands, and you have been selling these products through a reseller network, I assume, right?
Correct, yes.
So they are buying from you wholesale, typically, and then supplying to, different stores, chains.
Yeah, so we've got different tiers in that. So one of the things we do is we'll sell to distributors, and the distributors will obviously resell through to sort of the smaller retailers, and then we also sell direct to major retailers like your Home Depots and your Lowe's and Menards and those kind of companies, and now recently Walmart as well. So we have two different structures of the way we sell the business, and then the third leg now will be the B2C.
So, but you also said something. You said we also sell on Home Depot website. That means that you are drop shipping for Home Depot, right?
Correct. Yes, we are.
So that is kind of direct to consumer.
I would say so. I mean, we're responsible for making sure it goes through their platform and the orders go through their platforms and that, and through EDI technology, we are obviously connected to our ERP, and then we use a third-party logistics to do our drop shipping. So it's all interconnected through EDI.
Yeah. So now the most important question. You've got this whole thing squared away, where you've got your distributors, the wholesalers, you've got these big stores that are selling your product through their website, you're fulfilling. Why go direct to consumer on Amazon? Now you're facing the consumer directly yourself, because so far that hasn't been the case. Why do you feel the need to do that?
So I think, the way we look at it is that we not only have a number of products that are focused and cater to a number of different markets and channels and consumers, we also feel that there's a massive, sort of consumer base that's not going to go buy our product at a Lowe's or at a Michael's or a Hobby Lobby or at an AutoZone or anything like that. Amazon has become, a central place for purchase. We believe that not only are our competitors there, but also there's a number of our consumers that are there that are not coming to the other places that we're selling. So we want to gain traction in that sector of the market as well.
So there is another model with Amazon where you become a vendor to Amazon. So in this case, Amazon gives you a purchase order and then buys from you. So why not try that model?
So one of the commitments we've made to, our other customers, our retailers and our distributors and that is that we're not going to come in and undercut them in terms of price. And, if we're selling to Amazon as a customer, we don't have that same control in terms of the MSRP. Whereas if we're selling it directly ourselves, we have a lot more control over that. And because of that, we're trying to accommodate a number of different customers across different platforms.
Mm-hmm. So that's a very smart way of saying price control, right? You want to control your price. So if Amazon buys from you, Amazon will sell it at very low price. So they actually call this, they do it to the extent that they discount it ridiculously low. Even though the next guy may be selling it for, let's say, $30, they'll price it $24, $25. They could really price it $29 and still be the top guy, but they don't. And they say that's website behavior. So, and in the process, that completely website is as if like that behavior is like it just fell on their head. So they created that whole technology.
Exactly. Those algorithms, they're not quite that advanced that they created themselves.
Yeah. So your solution is we'll become a seller. So, okay. So now I have another question for you. So some of your resellers may actually be selling your products on Amazon. So now you are on Amazon, you'll be competing with them. So how does that fly?
So far, the customer base that we have got, none of them are selling on Amazon. So our products can't be found on there at all at the moment. If you look at, for example, let's just take Walmart or Home Depot and that, Amazon is their competitor. So they're definitely not going to be selling on there. If you look at the distributors that we're selling to, they're selling to more of the sort of from the little mom and pop stores up to bigger, chains with 150 stores and that. And again, they're not taking the products and selling on Amazon. They're either not selling online or they've got their own e-commerce platforms that they're trying to drive. So our customer base, we're not selling to a customer base that will be selling on Amazon at the moment. Would that change in the future? I'm sure, it would. I'm sure if somebody buys from one of our distributors and sells it, online there, they could do that. But I think, once they've bought it from the distributor and they've put their markup up and you're doing individual drop shipping and that, from a price point, we should be, pretty stable. So I don't really foresee that as a major issue.
So one of the things that happens is, do you operate a MAP policy?
We don't. It's, the thing about a MAP policy is you've got to enforce it. So we offer, an MSRP and, from there, we try and make sure that the margins that our customers have got that can meet that MSRP and that, they're satisfied with that. And, internally, we have a policy where we don't personally sell to the consumer below the MSRP. So if our customers want to sell it above that, or if they want to sell below that, that's their choice of margin. But yeah, so no, we don't have a map in place.
So I have some clients who have gone through the transition to selling directly to consumer on Amazon, and also some clients who are going through it. So one thing that they all have in common is this: they basically review their distribution agreement with the customers that they are selling to, their wholesale customers. And in that agreement, it says clearly that rights to sell on Amazon only belongs to you. So they have to agree to that in order to buy from you. So in addition, if they want to go to Amazon, it has to be by approval only. And then when you approve, and you may want to approve some of them, but let them come to you and say, I want to sell on Amazon. then at that point you can collect information like what is your seller name, because as you know they can put different seller names. So so that's one. Before starting that journey, nail down those agreements, get them to agree. The second thing is you get on Amazon brand registry with your registered brands. Once you get on Amazon brand registry, and now you have the agreement that says that they are not allowed, anybody ends up selling, because people will buy in the gray market your products and then they'll sell them. And if you are selling, in fact, if you are selling at MSRP, they'll come undercut you. There's no question, because there's plenty of money. And the next thing is you are competing against this guy who has a legitimate invoice he produces, but he's not authorized.
Yeah.
So you can easily get them thrown out by taking it up with brand register people. There are ways they won't just, if you have, this is America, if you have a legitimate commercial invoice and you're selling it without doing anything wrong, you can sell anything you want. But there are ways to get them out through brand registry enforcement. So, but those are the things that you have to do. Otherwise, you have no basis to stand on. Anybody can sell anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now you got to look after your brand and your products. Agreed.
Yeah. So tell us about how you are going about doing this. So your products are not currently on Amazon. So there are no listings yet, right?
No, there's no listings yet. So we've been building the site in the background. The site is ready to go. We've also got our own e-commerce platform that we're doing through Shopify. That's an attachment to our website. And we're waiting for additional stock to arrive. We're building up our stock levels. I don't want to launch, until I'm comfortable with the stock levels that we've got. Right now we've got such a demand in the marketplace with the orders that we do have. That's where our focus is. So we're kind of treading water. The site's been built, it's been developed. We've got the brand register. We've built a company site. Because we're also selling great stuff, which is a DuPont brand, we've had to get authorization from them and have all that set up. So the mechanics of the site is there, ready to go. It's literally just waiting for us, to go ahead. And we've set up. So we're doing self-fulfillment for now, and we utilize a 3PL for that. They're already doing the dropship for all of our other customers that are doing e-commerce. So it's been an easy sort of add-on, and that's where we are. So we're in an interesting time where we set up, we're ready to go, but we haven't pulled the trigger yet.
Okay, so I want to unpack. We are set up and ready to go because it takes a lot to get ready for Amazon, right? So
Correct.
With Shopify,
Correct.
You set up your website and then you put your products and then you promote the website. But that's not the case with Amazon. There is no.
It's completely different.
Yeah. So walk us through, as a manufacturer who's decided to go direct to consumer, what does it take to get set up? Talk about listings and things like that. And you have a huge advantage, by the way, as a manufacturer, because your products are not yet on Amazon. It's very, very rare. Usually people who are brand owners and manufacturing, they have a distribution network. Their products are already listed, duplicates, triplicates. It's a mess. So now they come in trying to assume ownership of those listings, and it's a bit of a hassle. So tell us about how you are going about putting your listings together.
Well, the very first thing that we did was we made sure that we've got somebody that we hired that actually understands Amazon, to some degree. I think that was the very first thing that we did is, once we started doing the research and we understood what we want to do, where we want to go, then we identified who do we need to help drive this project. And that doesn't mean that we don't use outside resources as well, specialists like yourself, that understand, Amazon a lot more intimately than we do. So that was the first step. The second thing that we did was then is identify, just from a price point, the products, do the research, have a look who our competitors are, what they're selling for, what kind of volumes all that information is at your fingertips with the right tools on Amazon, and make the decision, do we want to do partial listings? Do we want to do all of our listings? So, once we had made all of those various decisions, then it was starting to get into actually putting the products on. And as you know, the SAR numbers that we have to get, the products, all of the correct visuals. We've got to make sure our content is correct, that we've got enough substance and depth, and it's not just one picture with a small description. There's a variety of information. We're busy on developing additional how-to videos that will be loaded on there. So really just build the content and all of the additional information, and then obviously start working with getting listed with Amazon, and then start getting the brand registry done on the variety of products, putting the store together, developing all of that, doing the connectivity between, Amazon online and our 3PL. There's as you can imagine, and I know I'm just giving you the highlights, but there's an incredible amount of work in the background just to get it right. And that's even before you start talking about, sort of direct advertising, to customers and all of that. So it's a lot more work than people think. And I think if you've got one or two SKUs, okay, but when you've got a couple of hundred SKUs, it starts becoming, quite a task. And then it's making the decisions on the packs. Do we want to sell a 2-pack as a 2-pack, or do we want it as a 1 plus a 2 and an add-on? So there's a lot of in-depth discussions around, the variety of options that you have available at you and the direction you want to take this. It's not just slapping it on and selling a product.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people say, oh, just upload the catalog. But no, that's not the way to do it. So there is no website you're promoting here. It's every listing stands on its own. It has to be promoted. It has to rank. So, you mentioned that you hired somebody. So is this an outside expert that worked on your project, or you actually hire somebody full time? What is the best practice for you for saying vendors?
So we kind of it's kind of a hybrid of the two. So the person that has come in is not just in charge of the Amazon site; he's in charge of a number of other areas as well, and it's all to do with sales of our products. But he's got the experience having sold on Amazon before, knowing what to look out for, knowing how to process it. So, with that experience, then he also knows, because there's a lot of fly by nights. There's a lot of people that come out there and say, oh, I can get you ranked, number 1 in your product range. All you have to do is this, or pay me X, or whatever the case is. So the other thing is with his experience and knowledge, he also knows what we really need, and that's where we've utilized, sort of third parties in certain areas to help us, and we'll use additional third parties as we get to the next steps, and go through it. But having the intimate knowledge of working with Amazon, both directly, as a supplier and also as a vendor, and having that experience and gone through those teething problems and understanding what to look out for, and that has been very helpful to also find the right third party to help us.
Yeah. So, this is a smart approach. So when I work with my clients, I always say, you need somebody in the company who's going to be the channel manager. We call it the channel manager. And in this case, channel being Amazon. So that person can do other things. And by the way, that person does not need to be experienced, but you must have the expertise on board through outside third parties or anybody else, really, because you don't want to learn on the job, because it's too risky, right? So Amazon will throw you out. Doesn't matter, if you violate their terms, and all it takes is a couple of emails where you mention your email address, all with a good intention. If you have any problems, just contact us here and forget it. It's all automated. They will mask your email anyway. But it just doesn't take much before you do things wrong. So you don't want to learn on the job. You definitely want the expertise, but also you want to charge that person with the responsibility to manage the channel. So that's the right way. The other philosophy I apply is, don't be the solution to a problem, but find the solution to a problem. So what that means is, a lot of the times, in fact, I was talking to another guest earlier, there's a book called E-Myth Revisited, subtitled, Why Small Businesses Fail in America. And it starts with the story about this lady who always wanted to be a baker. She loved baking stuff, creating cakes and cookies, and then she's successful. She's running she's got this little bakery, customers love her, but she's so busy, she has no life. So she hires this person, says, I need help, please come. And then this person is taking care of everything that she's not good at, she does not like doing, she does not have the time to do. Now life is good. She finally gets back her life. She focuses on doing what she does well. And then one day that person leaves and she's back to square one. So that's a good example of being the solution to a problem. So what's the right way? The right way is to build an infrastructure that is not person dependent, but process driven, and write guidelines, create training videos and things like that, so that so in other words, that person has to work on making himself or herself redundant, unemployed, so that he can, most people don't like doing that because they want to be dependent on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, a long time ago, one of my mentors said to me, and I was young in the industry, and he basically said to me, he said, the day that you can go away for a month and your division runs completely smoothly, then you've become a manager. So that while you're busy running it yourself and doing it yourself, he said, then you're not a real manager. So it really just, it stuck with me, and it basically just reminded me that, once I can get any part of a business to a point where it runs with the collective systems and people, and any one of those people can go away for a month, and myself, then we've got the right systems in place, because it is system driven, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, especially on Amazon, anybody who's going on Amazon, unless you want to do this as a side job, make a few bucks, that's a different story. We're not talking about that. We're talking about building a business operation on Amazon that will scale. That means that you need scalability. You need an infrastructure. And if somebody is coming in taking care of stuff, that's not going to scale. That person's circumstances will change. At best, they get old and they don't want to do it anymore. So you want totally process-driven operation that can scale, and then different parts of it can be delegated. It's well documented, and checks and balances. You don't want to just trust one person. I've seen companies, they hire people, and these people make themselves indispensable, and then they are afraid to bring an outside person because then egos start to get into it. You don't want that. As a company culture, you want to say, this is what I expect you to do. And then, it always works well for the company. So this is great. I mean, your experience is so valuable for a lot of companies who are thinking about it. So it's not something that you can just say, okay, let's go and then get somebody to do it. No, it doesn't work like that. This has to be taken seriously. So tell us about the model. So you have FBA, where Amazon does the fulfillment, versus FBM. So which model have you chosen? Or
honestly, it's one of the last decisions that we need to make. We've set up for FBM because we're already set up with our third-party logistics for all of the other e-commerce platforms. So for us, it increases our volumes, which helps with price points. We're already geared up for it. It's in our financial model, the way we've structured, so that we can do it. But obviously nobody can really compete with Amazon's delivery fees. It takes a lot of headache off your plate, and that's literally one of the last decisions that we need to make on our side. And I would be happy to hear your input or insights in terms of that.
Okay, I'm glad you asked me. So I will tell you. So I always focus on data. Data-driven decisions will always be completely objective. So there are two magic bullets for success on Amazon, for your listings to be successful. First magic bullet is your click-through rate. What that means is when somebody comes searches something with a keyword, you want to get more and more people clicking on your listing. So that means so many people are coming. So if some search has been done and 100 people clicked on your listing, that means 100 people coming to your product page. How do you get that 100 to be 200, 300, 400? That comes down to your rank, your reviews, your algorithms. But at the end of the day, if you focus on how do I get the click-through rate or CTR up, that is going to lead you to success because you're going to be bringing more people. And then you unpack that challenge, identify the pieces. By the way, product picture is key because that's all they are seeing. Of course, your listing has to be optimized with keywords so that it comes up in the search. So your algorithm, the rest of your numbers have to be right so that it shows up close to the top. But assume all that is done, you are at the top. There's two listings next to each other, right? Why do they click on yours? Well, product picture, that's it, and the title. So increase the CTR. The second one is more powerful. That's the final killing bullet, and that's the conversion rate. So how do you get out of those 100 people that landed on your page? 100% success means all 100 buy it, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's not going to happen, of course, but you want to increase it. Ideally, I would like to see 35% and up. That means 1 out of 3 people. So how do you get more people to say, I'm happy with what I'm seeing, so I'm going to buy this? You know what increases the conversion rate? Being in the prime channel, which means FBA.
Okay.
Your 3PL will not like that because they make money on fulfilling individual orders. And this is the reality. So I always tell everybody, listen, you got a business to learn, because once you pull the trigger and you start your operation, all bets are off. You're going to have to build those disciplines, the infrastructure, attend to problems, build that culture around growing your Amazon operation. How many businesses do you want to be in? Do you want to be in customer service business? Because your 3PL won't take the customer service calls. They won't be responsible for it. Plus, things always go wrong with carriers. You'll take the hit. Your feedback rating will suffer. If Amazon does the fulfillment, that's case number 2 for FBA. There's a problem with shipment. Somebody files negative feedback. You can have that removed.
Okay.
For FBM,
good advice.
Yes. So how many returns? They want a refund. So the merchandise will go back to where? Back to your home office or the 3PL? If it's 3PL, why do you want to waste your time with petty little things like that? Amazon will handle it. They'll receive the return. They'll check it. If it's saleable, they'll put it back in stock. By the way, they lose it. If they lose it, they'll pay you. They'll become your customer. So good luck doing those things with 3PL. So that's why I always say, especially as a large operation who is serious about building Amazon as a channel, without a doubt, pick FBA and then go from there. And then for higher ticket items, add FBM, but all for the intention of testing to see how many pieces this will sell per month. Immediately switch it to FBA.
Okay.
So that's my 2 cents on it. And
awesome.
But ultimately, conversion rate is key. Now, that means that you have to track your conversion rate. How do you know what your conversion rate is, and how do you know how it's progressing? How is it going down, or is it going? And this is not available unless you have reports you download and then look at manually and things like that. So those are things that I say, once you pull the trigger, it's all, your business should be all about looking at information. It's almost like flying a fighter jet. You've got all these things you're looking at, and things are happening very quickly. And the impact of something going right or wrong will be huge. Good things will scale, bad things will scale. So you don't want too many physical moving parts at that point, ideally.
Correct, 100%. And that's one of the reasons why we've delayed the launch is we want to make sure we've got it right. We don't want to just like, let's get listed. It's not about that. It's about, let's do this properly. Let's do this correct. Let's make the right decisions. Let's investigate it. Let's speak to the experts like yourself, and make the correct decisions.
Yeah. So tell me about some of the things now. We are now in July, beginning of July of 2022, and some things have changed post-pandemic. For example, with FBA, you have limits. Amazon puts limits, especially for new sellers. So tell us about how you are preparing. We are just about to go into a Prime Day, and then we have the shopping season. Share with us some of the discussions you have going on about preparing for these heavier than usual shopping.
Yeah. Well, I think, and that was also around the discussion about FBA and also self-fulfillment. The FBM was around that. Would our 3PLs be able to handle, excessive volume? Because it's not just about our products that are in there; it's also about other customers' products that are in there. So that's like one of the discussions. Again, one of the other discussions would be: do we have enough stock? Are we going to be able to service the customers? Again, another reason by making sure we launch it when we're ready and comfortable, because the last thing we want to do is have 100 products out there and have nothing in stock. It's the other question is, do we feel like with Prime Day coming up that we want to actually launch before that and get on there and take advantage of it? Or do we feel that we're not ready and it will actually be just a mess and it's going to cost us money at the end of the day? So those are some of the discussions that we have in around there. I think going forward, just in terms of, the last 2 years with the economy, with COVID, with everything else has been phenomenal for e-commerce sales. We're not going into this believing that it's going to remain exactly like that. There are going to be some changes. So it's also just trying to be aware of that and just stay on top of it. So, just keeping your finger on the pulse. I think that's the bottom line. So looking into it, not just going in blindly and going in it, like you were saying, look at the data, don't get emotional about it. Say, I know I can do this. We've got this. We've got a great product. People want our product. It's like, do they really want it? What are your competitors doing? What products, where are the opportunities? Because you can see what's moving out there, and sometimes within our channel of products, there are no-name brands that are starting to pick up in that, and having a look at those opportunities. Why is that happening? So you're 100% right. All about looking at the data.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to share with you something also. People know, but they don't always know specifically, and there's no precise answer to this. But let's say that you create a new listing. In your case, you're creating a new listing. When you create a new listing, your first challenge is to get reviews for the item. Reviews come from orders come from reviews. So that's the chicken and egg that you have to deal with. So at the beginning, you have to spend money in advertising, driving traffic, so that some of those will buy, and then they will become reviews, and then it will just grow from there. So, however, when you launch the listing at the beginning, it's so critical that your launch has to be well designed in terms of strategy and the tactics that will make that strategy successful. Because Amazon will give you a honeymoon period. And that honeymoon period, nobody knows how long it is. It's 3 to 4 weeks, sometimes 2 weeks. Nobody knows what extends it. But if you think about it, I actually had this discussion with another guest earlier. Well, Amazon algorithm is all AI driven, right? AI will favor success. So if a new listing is successful, it's going to extend the honeymoon period. Well, what does honeymoon period do? Honeymoon period will bypass a lot of the things that you have to meet, the criteria to meet for exposure. It will give you exposure at the beginning. So they support the underdog. Say, this is a new listing. Here, people buy. And if you play your cards right, and then you align your advertising strategy with your listing content and your social media efforts, it's like exactly like a commander, preparing for battle. Yeah, and then you engage them in the right way. You can, by the end of the first couple of weeks, you can be on page one for the keywords of your choice. And then the honeymoon will push that even further. And then you will achieve an organic rank that you can then maintain much, much more easily. Now, here is the magic bullet. Again, if you run out of stock while doing that, it will take you 2 months to get back to where you were.
Wow.
So never, ever, ever run out of stock once you launch a listing. So in your case, if you've got a couple of hundred products, focus on one with variations at a time. So my formula is launch one product with 5-10 variations, if any, color, size, whatever the case may be for you. 6 months, do nothing else. Focus on advertising, getting your ROI right, because it's going to take you a long time to develop the methodology, the discipline, the stock, continuity in inventory and all that stuff. And then launch another parent with multiple variations after the first 6 months, every 3 months. So every quarter you're launching another one. So that strategy, you can't go wrong. That's obviously not going to be listing all the products. And then, but frankly, you're not in the business of listing products. You're in the business of generating revenue, right?
Correct.
So what will generate revenue and what will scale? So you're going into this brand new, no matter how much you know, first of all, I've been doing this for almost 2 decades. Rules keep changing. So you are always a beginner. So you can't say, I know how to do this. No. Once the rubber meets the road, everything changes, your infrastructure. So those are the kinds of things that I always recommend to be careful with.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you, doing it the right way. 100%.
Yeah. So talk to us about your team. So I know you said you hired somebody, but as far as roles, because there's content, there's financials, there's inventory. So how do you structure your team for the Amazon operation?
Well, I mean, we already have a variety of teams in different parts of the business already. So, whether it's in operations, handling customer support, we've got obviously the financial aspect of the business. We've got general sales, so there are a number of areas already happening, and it's about tying into those areas. So Stephen, who basically runs, the sales area and that, has the experience in Amazon, but we will be bringing somebody in who will be e-commerce based only, that their role will be, like you say, that channel partner. And we've identified somebody already as we launch and get going. And they will look after not just after the Amazon account and our internal Shopify account, but also, the Lowe's, the Depot, the Menards, the Aces, all of those as well. So they'll look over e-commerce, completely. And it's their responsibility then obviously to communicate with our finance department, who, with our costings, with the operations in terms of the stock requirements and all that. So, there's a central person who is communicating internally. Unfortunately, we've got those infrastructures in place already. So when we're looking at replenishment stock for our in-store customers, we now start looking at it from more of a holistic point of view of in-store and e-commerce. So we just tie it all together like that. So it's not one person responsible for all of that. They work with the different departments.
Yeah. So this reminds me of something I always say when somebody starts on Amazon. So Amazon operation is for a company like yours, where there's an existing operation, there's stuff, processes in place to maintain the service for your distribution network and others that are doing online and your new Shopify, any one of those things, they are things that you've already set up. So now comes Amazon, and suddenly the first thing that becomes an issue is Amazon operation is not going to fit into what you have. Your operation has to fit into what Amazon wants. So people say, wait a minute, we're not getting much business from this. We're not going to change our entire operation and rewire things just to satisfy Amazon. Once sales increase, we can make those changes. And that day never comes. So this is what I call Amazon tail wagging the dog.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that you accommodate the Amazon requirements. So that means that rewiring your existing operation. So that's not to say, okay, change this, change that, change the other. It's a mindset. So you have to go into it. Okay, this is Amazon operation. Okay, the thought should not be how do we fit this into our operation. It should be the other way around. So this becomes especially problematic with handling the financials of it, because Amazon settlement report comes out every other week. And in the meantime, if it's FBA, which is the recommended model, you are carrying inventory in multiple locations. So now think about this. As a business owner, you know this better than anybody. If the liquidity you are generating on each sale, which means cost of the goods minus Amazon fee minus fulfillment fee, whatever is left is your net liquidity. You need to know the total liquidity in a month compared to the total amount of inventory you are carrying at any point in time. So if it's taking you, if you are generating $100,000 a month net, and the inventory you're carrying is $500,000, it's going to take you 5 months just to finance the inventory, right?
Correct.
So where do you see this information? It's in your financials. And usually an existing operation financials are fairly complex, all, mishmashed. You can't isolate the Amazon operation. As yet, that tail will start wagging the main operation. So in some cases, companies like yours, they go for a silo operation. In other words, they set up a virtual company, not necessarily a separate company, but a virtual company off the books being, they treat that as a customer on the books, and then they can maintain the entire Amazon operation with its own KPIs, inventory, and then you just simply do intercompany. And then once the operation is established and then it's standing on its own feet, you can decide, we are now going to integrate it. We know exactly what to track. And at the same time, we want to put it all in one place. Or, you know what, we're going to spin this off, treat it as a separate operation. And then, we can see the numbers separately. So those are the models that you can then decide. But right at the beginning, at least you want to keep it clean, because the first time you send an FBA shipment, all bets are off, because now inventory is all over the place, right?
Yeah. I think, one of the things that we did 2 years ago is we sat down and we had a look at the direction we were taking the business and in terms of the different, customers that we were dealing with. And, we put in a very robust ERP system specifically for this. Because just like Amazon, all of our top tier customers are exactly the same. They've all got different rebate structures. They've got all, different, reductions that come off. And, now, and then you're looking at them, let's take a Walmart, for example, where you've got an e-commerce program and you've got an in-store program, and they run completely different. It's almost like you could call them different companies, and then if you just look at everybody else, everybody's got a slightly different structure. The way we have our stock is physically in a variety of locations as well. We keep, even if our e-commerce stock is in the same physical location, we separated on a location, on our ERP, so that we can monitor it better over there. So that's one of the things that we already do, and we're pretty good at. So, it's good to hear that sort of feedback from you, because it's very much each one of these. It's not just this is a customer. There's a lot involved there. You got, and on a lot of our other customers, we have manufacturer rep groups that are involved with, their commission structures are different. So that's got to get monitored. So you start throwing a lot of different pieces in for every single customer. It's not a straight sale where it's okay, in and out. So, that very same model is what we've applied to Amazon, where, it gets managed in its own silo as a complete separate customer with all of these variables involved. So it's nice to sort of hear, that sort of feedback coming from you.
Yeah, I mean, you've done something very timely and very smart, and I heard you mention it a few times. It's ERP, having an ERP system. So, one of the things that I always tell people is, if your business is going to scale, it's going to scale because it uses technology well. And you can't scale a business unless you use technology. And in many cases, the kind of business decisions you make in terms of a new deal, the kind of channel, whatever, it will be dictated by the technology that you have in place. If you don't have it, you can't make that decision because you won't be able to manage it. So
100%. I mean,
ERP
yeah,
will do exactly that.
Yeah, we have three key technologies. We've obviously got to control the heart of our business, which is the financials and the stock and that. Then we've got a separate CRM that ties into that, which handles our marketing and sales as well. And then we've got a project management system as well. And all of these sort of tie in and talk to each other. But those are the three sort of key structures of our business. And then from there, you've obviously got sub software that you use. But that's really that is our tripod that drives our business and helps us control and manage and make sure that it's scalable.
Yeah. I mean, scaling is a business is a whole different ball game. A lot of people start something and then they gets to a point, and then they keep pushing without really making those key decisions. And frankly, they cost money and time, right?
Yes.
So
yes, they do. But they're worth it.
Yeah, they are worth it, but it's a decision, and not everybody makes the right decision. So sometimes you make the right decision, but you pick the wrong solution or the wrong choice. And I mean, those things happen. So
for sure. Listen, sometimes it's about making the wrong decision a few times before realizing I need to make the right one earlier.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I don't remember where I heard this, but I heard somewhere that we want you to make as many mistakes as possible, as soon as possible. So you can
exactly.
You can learn.
And what's even better is if you watch other people making those mistakes and don't do them yourself.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the best way. So making mistakes is just part of the process. You just have to. I tell people, look, make as many mistakes as you want. Just don't make the same mistake twice. That's all. That's the only requirement. So, as far as your take on how Amazon is handling a new seller, share with us, what are you happy with and what are you not happy with? If you could change one thing in Amazon policies for sellers.
I've thought about that, and for me, it's a pretty difficult one because I unfortunately, when I look at something like this, I look at Amazon from how it can benefit my company and myself in that, but then I also have a look at it, how does it benefit me as a consumer, and then also look at it as a complete separate company and what it's done for the economy and what it's done for a number of small and medium enterprises out there, and there's so many pros and there's so many cons, and it's a discussion that could go on for hours, as I'm sure you're aware. I think there's no policy in place right now that has a major effect on us in such a way that it's become an obstacle. And it's like, this is a problem for us. This is making it, difficult. So there's nothing that's really, I mean, obviously there's always things that you want to change, but that's the nature of humans. We want things our way. But I wouldn't say there's any one thing that's sticking out like a sore thumb and saying, all right, if only we could change this, it would change the way that we do business. Because some of those changes that we may want will also have the same impact on our competitors. So it's not really a win there for us. I think it's created, I think for a lot of the smaller companies coming in, it's always difficult to compete with some of the brands that have been established for long enough, that are on Prime, that sometimes have a 1 or even same day turnaround time, and if you're self-fulfilling and you can only get the product there in 2 weeks. So nobody wants to wait, 2 weeks for their products. And I think unless you've got a specialized product or something that's a niche market and people are prepared to wait because there isn't a lot of opportunity to get it elsewhere, I think that's probably one of the most difficult areas, for new customers or new suppliers coming in to try to compete with well-established brands or people that are already in FBA. So I think that's probably the single challenge that I would foresee. But us personally, we haven't worked with it long enough for me to give you an educated, here's my thought about what I would like to change or not. There's nothing that's really standing out egregious at the moment. We're going to, I think one of the things that we look as a positive is that we're going to be putting a relatively inexpensive product in somebody's hands in their house without having to go to the shop and that. So we see that as sort of, the offset of maybe some of the stuff that we're not that happy with. But that's kind of where we are right now.
Yeah. Well, I think something you said is something that people don't really think about. Because you know how it is. When you make a mistake, everybody knows about it. But when you're doing something good, it's invisible, right? Yeah. So is Amazon the perfect company? Of course not. Do they do some things unfair? Of course they do. Who doesn't want to? Who has such power? You want to use it, right? So that's why you want to try to get that power. You want to use it responsibly, but nevertheless, you want to leverage it. So those things are a given. But what you said was Amazon has basically empowered a lot of small businesses. Now, they may have put out some businesses, they put them out of business.
Yeah.
But, those businesses who have refused to evolve and do things in new ways, they're going to die no matter what.
Correct.
If nothing, a pandemic will come along and kill them.
Exactly.
So
I think you've got to adapt. You continuously have to adapt.
Exactly. So I think making Amazon the culprit is wrong. But at the same time, those things happen. It's just one of those things. Amazon just became the vehicle. However, the kind of impact they made on small entrepreneurs, small businesses, who would never have the money or the credit to go get a lease and then rent and never. So now anybody can do whatever they envision. So that's the good thing always to keep in mind. However, how do small guys become successful? Small being someone who's not there yet, who's just getting started, no matter how established their operation is. You're still starting from scratch, and you are up against those brands who have done all their work and built that infrastructure.
But you would be that if you were in a brick and mortar anyway. If you were doing that from a
but
location.
The point is, it's much easier and cheaper to penetrate into the Amazon world, and that's where the knowledge will shine. That's creating the listing, doing the research, the keyword research, building the content, blah blah. That's what these guys do. Creating a following in social media before you launch it and planning everything right. So those things will get you established despite those established brands. However, I think that you are going in for a rude awakening in terms of the kind of support Amazon provides for sellers.
Yeah.
Because they don't care as much about seller experience as they do about customer experience. So they will unfortunately take the position, customer is always right, you are always wrong. And you have to try to prove you are not wrong. And of course, proving the negative is impossible. So that sometimes becomes a frustrating thing. The seller support, the general consensus is that there is plenty of room to improve.
Listen, I think there's always room to improve everywhere, and that goes for us as well. And everything that we learn from this journey, we'll obviously put back into it and always improve.
Absolutely. So let's talk about, by the way, this conversation is so valuable for companies like yours who are just looking to get into the direct-to-consumer channel and use Amazon. So you will help a lot of people with your thoughts.
That's my pleasure.
And you are already ahead.
I've gained some knowledge here as well, so thank you.
Thank you. Great. So let's now talk about you a little bit. Enough Amazon. So I introduced you as a proud immigrant. Where did you grow up and why are you so proud?
So, I come from Africa. I went to school in South Africa, and I come from the Kingdom of Eswatini, also known as Swaziland, tiny little landlocked country, squashed between South Africa and Mozambique. There's about 1.2 million people in the country, so it's still run by a king. And it's just it's my home. It's my family's still there. My parents, my sister, and her family. And it's such a beautiful place, such a humble place, and it will always have a special part in my heart. I think one of the things that has really helped me is you've got to work hard, you've got to hustle, you learn how to make things happen. And I think, all of that has really boded me well coming over here to the US and, putting the same sort of work ethic into it with a lot more resources and a lot more opportunity. It's a great combination. But I mean, it's a very traditional country. It's beautiful. It's hard to say. You feel the essence of it when you land there.
So what brings you to the US? I mean, I don't mean US only. I mean, what takes you out of your home country and then brings you to the US instead of I don't know, England, France, Germany, or wherever?
A girl.
It's always about, oh my God.
It's always about a girl.
Always about a girl. So, okay. So this girl, I assume, was American.
Yeah. So she was in Swaziland. We met, and I wanted to pursue a relationship, and the only way I could pursue a relationship was to come over here. And I was in a point in my life where I had exited another business, and I was looking for opportunities of doing something else. And it was okay. Well, I mean, if I can do it in South Africa and Swaziland, I'm sure I can do it in the US. And I started making a couple of trips over here, for the relationship and also looking for the opportunities. And, and that's kind of what got me here.
So, I just found the answer to my question about what makes you proud. So I just heard you say, if I can make it in Swaziland, I can make it in America. So, yeah. And of course you have, so that makes you proud, right?
I love building things, and we're building a brand here, and we're not just building a brand on a regional, we're building a national brand, which we'll take international as well. So that's what I love. It's just taking a concept, taking an idea and creating something out of it. I get to bring a lot of people together that thoroughly enjoy working together and help me build this brand and, support them and watch them grow as individuals. I see this brand taking on a life of its own and, just becoming this thing to be proud of. And I think for me, that's exactly it. It's just doing that and being proud of it. And that excites me.
So you mentioned two things. One is building things. The other is bringing people together. So which one is it? Is it building or bringing people together that gets you most excited?
Listen, I think they go hand in hand. I think, without the right people, you can't really build anything, and bringing those right people together and watching them build something, it's we've set this vision and getting those right people and just seeing them, taking this thing and building it into something. I think it's a combination of the two, because you can build something on your own and it doesn't have the same meaning. You can bring people together without a purpose, and what are they doing, So by putting a purpose in place and taking this team and building this thing, I think you just combine it into one thing and it becomes something special.
So it's the purpose-driven approach.
Absolutely.
And why do you think you have that kind of a drive? Because it's unique. It's not for everybody.
That's a good question.
Is it your family? Is it anything deeper than just education, or what is it?
Listen, I think it's, if you look at the business that I'm building, I know that it will afford us the life that I want with my partner. It will allow us to have the time and all of that kind of stuff. But that's on a reward side. That's not the reason behind it. The reason is I think to be able to stand back one day and look at this thing that I've created on its own, almost like, a child. You grow it up and you create it into either this really great adult or this not so great adult. But it's you build this thing up and you can step back and you can say, you know what, I'm responsible for getting that to what it is. And I think there's a lot of pride that comes in that, and it's a lot of satisfaction. And it's just, knowing that, I was part of making that happen.
You know what business you are in, Dean?
Yeah.
You are in the pride business. You are a proud man. I mean, look, I wasn't born in America either. So I'm an immigrant. So I understand what it takes to make it in countries that are less fortunate than America. Yeah. So we come here conditioned to succeed. And we are also proud people because we stood against all odds to pursue our dreams, right? So that makes us proud people. And here we just simply go about doing the same thing. And pride in the end is the final driver. And that's what I'm hearing. It's not the case for a lot of people because they just go with the whatever is easy, they're not really, I mean, that's not to say it's right or wrong. It's just, for some people, I'm hearing from you, you are a proud man and you just want to be proud of what you've done. And what better way to be proud than, look, I built this brand, I built this company, I built this team. So
absolutely. Well, listen, I won't disagree with you.
Great. So tell us how people can reach you. We will put your contact information on our website, but give us your contact information here so people can connect with you.
I think, the best place, I'm very, very active on LinkedIn. So, Dean Fonsell, from National Adhesive on LinkedIn. I communicate mostly there and I spend a lot of time on it every single day, just, building my network and working with people, whether I'm supporting people, whether I'm learning from others or, just getting better connections. That's the single biggest place that you'll find me.
Great. Thank you, Dean. This was great. You've been a light for a lot of people, and we now understand what drives you as well, which I'm sure is the case for a lot of people. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. It's been awesome. Thanks, Nick. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. So that brings us to the end of another episode, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Be sure and subscribe, rate, and review our show. And be sure and share an episode with a friend. And thank you so much for being with us today. We'll see you next week here on Amazon Legends.